Thanks for joining us here at Security Summit. My name is Tim Peacock. I'm the Senior PM for Detection Platform, UEBA, and Risk in Google SecOps. And in my spare time at Google, I'm the co-host of the Cloud Security Podcast by Google.
Thank you, Tim. My name is Vijay Ganti. I'm the Director of Product Management here at Google, and I run the PM team for Gemini for security.
And we're so excited to talk about Gemini and security operations today. So, as we're talking about all these agentic capabilities, I had this unshakable feeling when I was walking around the RSA show floor this year that I had heard all of this before. It really felt like the messaging on the AI booths was so similar to the messaging on the SOAR booths of just 10 years ago. And so my first question to you as the guy leading all this for us, haven't we heard this before? What's different this time?
I think you're right to be skeptical. There is good reasons. We've heard this story many times, but it is different this time around. And what's unique about this technology is actually four things. Right. The first is this technology has the ability to generalize, which means that you don't have to train these models on every task with large amounts of data. Right. So it's able to generalize and is able to learn from very few examples. That's the first capability. The second thing that's an emergent property of this technology is its ability to plan. Given a complex task, like us human beings, it's able to break it down into a plan. And the third big capability that again is an emergent property is able to reason around the data that it finds. This reasoning capability is also super important. And the last thing is an all-important capability that it allows us to do something and not just think about it. And that is the ability to take action, right? Now, all these four things now are being worked into in a principled way to increase the capability of these models to do complex tasks in an autonomous fashion. As an example, the React framework.
Not just for JavaScript.
It's not just for JavaScript, you're right. React framework is all about reasoning, acting, observing, and then based on an observation, again, adapting your reasoning, right? That feedback loop is something that has been done in a principled way, which has added to the capability of autonomy that this technology has.
That feedback loop sounds a lot like an OODA loop. It's really an observe, orient, decide, act. It's like a fighter pilot.
I think it's exactly right. I mean, that is what it is. It is the OODA loop for the agents in some sense. That's totally right.
So let's see a demo of that. Let's see that in the product. So here we are in Google SecOps, and we're looking at an investigation of this potential RDP tunneling to an external. And this is not an alert type that we've trained it on in particular. This is just some alert we've got. And we've given it to the agent, and the agent is coming up with a plan to figure out whether this case is true or not.
That's right.
And so the first thing we see the agent do is investigate the hash. This is a very normal thing to do first. And what it learns from that is not malicious.
Yeah.
But let's see it go further. So as the agent continues its investigation, it actually runs a query and gets more data. And based on that data, it's actually able to understand the intent of what's happening in these events. And based on the intent, it's actually able to work out that this is likely to be a malicious situation going on. And so we've got generalization.
Yeah.
We've got planning.
Yeah.
We've got tool use.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And reasoning, as you said.
And reasoning. That's incredible.
Exactly. This is the implementation of all those four things that we talked about.
And it's all right there in Google SecOps today.
Exactly right.
That's incredible. So, as we're looking at this and as we're seeing all of these capabilities, you're seeing all the opportunity ahead of us. Where do you think the greatest opportunity lies today?
No, Tim, that's a great question. I think the opportunities are in three categories or three buckets.
Okay.
The first is set of workflows that exist today, but we can actually improve the efficiency of these workflows with this technology in a dramatic fashion.
Okay.
An example of that is the one that you showed just now, which is alert triaging, right? So alert triaging is something that customers do today. Unfortunately, they get hundreds of thousands of alerts, and their capacity to investigate those alerts is limited to 50 or 100 alerts.
So what do they do with the other 99,950?
It's a great question. Great question. But the good news is now we have help.
Now we have help.
Exactly right. So that's the first bucket. The second bucket or the second category is workflows that we have today, but that require high degree of expertise, which very few customers actually can afford.
What's an example of that?
An example of that would be malware analysis. You know this, Tim, malware analysis is so hard to do because the adversaries who are creating these malwares are well-funded, highly capable people.
Oh, yeah.
Who are writing this to evade our best defenses and our best experts.
And the history of our industry is the cat and mouse of that.
That's exactly right. And they're writing this software in different platforms. They're writing obfuscation technology, multiple layers of obfuscation, trying to hide it. To unpeel that onion takes a lot of expertise, a lot of figuring out. That's one thing that we can do. Why don't you show it to us, Tim?
Let's see that.
Yeah,
let's see that. Okay. So here we're inside Google Threat Intelligence. And all I've said to the model is, hey, would you please analyze and get the file associated with this hash?
Yeah.
And so I've given it very little to work from. I've told it implicitly two things: analyze it and get it. So the first thing it's going to do is go get some tools that it knows how to use and go get that file from VT. And then it's going to get this file, get a report about that file. But maybe that report isn't enough, and we want it to actually analyze the file itself.
That's right.
And so here the agent has gotten the file and it's going to start analyzing it. And what's amazing here is, again, the generalization. It's never seen this file before.
That's right.
But it's able to come up with a plan. And so what's the plan look like? Well, we see what kind of file it is. It's an Excel file. Maybe it's got a macro.
That's right.
So it's going to go look at that macro. Well, looking at a macro, that's complicated.
That's right.
And in this case, it's a particularly complicated macro. And so what the agent is seeing is, first, we've got something very obfuscated here as a PowerShell command. And as it analyzes it, as it works through it, it realizes that it's actually been obfuscated twice.
That's
and
right.
that there's multiple compression things happening in parallel here. And so the agent then writes a Python program to deobfuscate it.
That's right.
And so we go through the deobfuscation. There's a lot of obfuscation happening here. We get the plain text of the final decoded PowerShell command, but that's not enough to tell us whether it's good or bad. We need to understand the intent of that PowerShell command.
That's right.
And so here the agent is understanding what it would do. And what I love is the final conclusion here. We scroll all the way down through its understanding, and it says, finally, this macro is unequivocally malicious.
Oh, wow.
That's amazing.
I love the confidence.
What confidence it has. And so again, for the analyst, you could read all of this stuff and understand what the agent has done. Or if you happen to trust it, we get a final verdict. The Excel file is malicious.
That is fantastic. That is so fantastic. I mean, the intent that you expressed, it's able to create a plan which points to its ability to generalize. It points to its ability to plan.
To use tools.
That invokes tools to act. Then it analyzes the output of those tools and reasons about it to update its plan. So it's kind of using that React-like framework.
Yeah.
And there's an implementation of that, which is quite amazing.
That's an amazing piece of Google Threat Intelligence right there.
Yeah, and it goes back to, Tim, the third category.
Yeah, so what's that third category?
So imagine this now. Take this forward a little bit, right?
Yeah.
The expertise level we've lowered in this case. But now if we can automate this process for every file, and we can automate this in a way that it happens in seconds or minutes.
Instead of days.
Instead of days and months.
Right.
Virus Total, which is part of Google Threat Intelligence, has a place where 3 million users submit millions of files every day. Every day, 2 million files a day.
It's a lot of files.
And we can analyze the maliciousness of this and the various behaviors being exhibited in minutes. With that data, we can publish the cyber weather. You can find out what's happening in your cyber neighborhood.
That's incredible.
At any point in time. This was something that was not possible. You couldn't even imagine it.
Because it requires all that analysis at scale, which you couldn't do.
Which you couldn't do.
Because of talent.
Which brings us to the third category. The third category is all the possibilities.
Wait, it gets more impressive?
No, which unlocks the things that you could have imagined but couldn't do or couldn't even have imagined.
Right.
So this is an example of that, but it goes beyond that.
Tell me.
If you think about this, today security is largely reactive. threats come in, we detect them, we investigate them, and respond to them. We have some preventive layers, but they're not really threat. They don't have an understanding of threat.
My first team at Google was so reactive.
Right.
We chose as our motto in Latin, equo elapso, which means with the horse having already left the barn.
That's exactly right. I mean,
that's how security's been for decades.
For decades. And it's not for lack of trying. It just hasn't been possible. But now you don't have to wait for the attacks to happen. You can simulate the threats that are relevant to you using this technology. You can identify the assets that are most critical to you, most risky for you using this technology. You can understand the efficacy of controls for those particular assets. And you can identify those gaps and fix those gaps before those attacks happen.
That's amazing.
Right. So you can do it continuously. But that's not all. You can go further.
You can go further.
Most of these attacks happen because bad guys are selling access to your environment.
Access brokers.
Access brokers. They're selling your credentials for your employees in these forums. And in these forums, you want to be able to monitor them there, activity there. So you can shift left your detections. So the attacks, you can react to it before the attacks come to your shores.
But we've had dark web monitoring before. What's different with LLMs?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. Most of our LLM, or rather the detections for deep dark web, were based on regular expressions or keyword based. Now that's very brittle.
Very brittle.
It's so easy to bypass those. I mean, you
look at this.
That's right. In this example, I mean, an attacker, all they have to do is not name my company, but describe my company vaguely.
Yeah.
And it will completely evade my keyword search. Or maybe use it in a different language.
Right.
But with this
my Russian's not very good.
That's right. My French is as good as my Spanish. So, but yeah. So with this technology now, we don't have to match based on keyword, but we can match based on intent. And that completely changes the game. So yes, this technology has existed in the past, but now it's different. It's truly different.
It's truly different.
Right. So those are the three categories.
Okay, that's amazing. So, one of the things that's been so hard for security teams has been the silos. And the silos are created both by people's limitation and the limitations of the products that exist. And people are stuck with the interfaces that they're given by their tool vendors. And so what if these security silos didn't actually define our lives? What would that look like?
I think, Tim, you hit on a very important point. This technology is going to break silos, and it's enabling new experiences for us. Let me talk through that a little bit, and we'll also show a demo here. But the silos, as you rightly said, have existed because of limitations. We've had different vendor silos. We've had product silos. We've had functional silos. Vulnerability management is different from SOC operations, is different from identity teams, is different from threat intelligence. These are functional silos. So how do you break across all of these silos? It's been hard to do that. But with this technology, you can express your intent that actually can span all of these capabilities, can span all of these vendors, can span all of these domains, as an example, which we can do. And we will demonstrate that here. But the second thing that is also important is it allows us to have experiences that are completely new. You mentioned this. Why should I have to go to the product to get a capability? Why shouldn't the capability come to where I am?
Yes. And why should I go to that console? Why shouldn't it come to me?
Why should it come to me?
Yeah.
And that has been a problem because the integration has been a hard thing to do. But we are solving those problems with MCP Server, right? So I'll give you just one example. We have an implementation of MCP Server that allows us to publish our capabilities to a model. And now you as a user can express your intent to your AI chat client. And the model figures out which capability it needs to go to respond to your question, to respond to your intent.
Let's see an example of that.
Let's see an example of that.
Okay, so here I am in my MCP client, and I've said to my model buddy, can you find me a case that contains alerts from multiple vendors? And so what the tool is able to do is invoke SecOps APIs, pull that data, and bring it into my context. And so as we go through, I can ask it in very conversational ways, just describe this case, tell me about it. And so it's able to pull that details, summarize those, and present to me, the analyst, the things that are most interesting about it. And so here, we've got an alert which actually contains data from multiple different vendors, and it's bringing it together. And we've totally broken that vendor silo down and presented rich contextual data to the user. But if we want to get more details, we can say, well, what about the executable in there is so bad? And so as we work through this, it can pull more data, it can summarize that data, and it can highlight the aspects of that that are most important. And so here, it's actually pulling in events from another case that are related. And I didn't even ask it to do that. It was able to infer, I need to do that. And so as we go through, you can see how it's pulled all of this context together, and it's even able to recommend what I should do next.
This is so amazing. I mean, I'm seeing the interface here, experience here is so conversational. You're expressing your intent. It seems like you have a developer friend helping you in the background who is at lightning speed stitching APIs together across these product and vendor boundaries.
Yeah.
And meeting your needs on the fly.
Exactly.
And that is this model.
That's incredible, right?
It's amazing. From 1 million developers or so, whatever we have, to 7 or 8 billion.
Anybody that can talk to it in any language
is a developer.
Yes.
That is amazing new experience.
That's totally amazing.
Fantastic.
So this all sounds amazing, but what's the catch? Because whenever I hear something that sounds this good, I feel like that guy on the boat. I don't believe it. So what's the catch?
No, I think there are no catches, but I think there is a gap between the promise and making that promise a reality.
Yeah.
Which is what we are working on. And there are 3 specific dimensions, Tim, to that. The first one is, we all know and understand that this technology is non-deterministic.
Right. What does that mean?
Which means that it has a degree of statistical randomness. Every time you ask a question, it might answer it slightly differently because the context just has changed. Think about it like human beings. We human beings are not like computers. We respond based on the context we have slightly differently.
Right.
Okay. But our users expect predictability and reliability.
Especially their auditors.
Exactly right. So I think what we need to do is we need to do the work required in a principled way to deliver reliability. And there are 2 things that
How do you do that?
Yeah, there are 2 things that are important. For these models and these technologies, what we can control is what goes into them, which is the context.
We're context engineering.
Exactly. So the better we get at providing the context and more principled we are, we can provide more guardrails and more guarantees that this will perform well. And the second part is managing the output. Every time it generates something, you should be able to verify it in some reasonable way and then have that feedback loop. So reliability through context engineering and verification, right? And that operating in a loop. That's the first thing. The second thing we need to worry about for our domain, specifically security, is about economics.
Okay.
We have trillions of events. You know about security telemetry.
We
have trillions of events happening every day. And if you go and ask a model for all of these trillion events, that's going to be economically exorbitant. We cannot afford that, neither can our customers, right? So we need to figure out a way to make this work in an economic way. And we are doing that work, but that's an important dimension. The third dimension, which is very important, is our customers want to be able to rely on this technology, which means we need to earn their trust. And you earn their trust through transparency. You show your work. And so trust through transparency is the third pillar. So these are the 3 things that we need to work on to bridge the gap between the promise and reality of this.
So that's all amazing. What's our plan for getting this into the hands of our customers who definitely need this stuff? What's the plan?
Yeah, Tim, great question. So as we had mentioned, we are right now working on the agentic alert triage and agentic malware analysis. We will follow that up with agentic detection tuning, which is very important for addressing the false positive noise problem, along with agentic threat hunting, which is really important to detect sophisticated attackers.
Amazing.
That will be followed with agentic exposure management, which is about extending your detection capabilities beyond your shores, beyond your networks, into deep dark web forums.
That's fantastic. So we've heard about a lot of capabilities. We've seen a lot of capabilities. Let's hear from one of our customers, Apex Financial, who's using these capabilities in Google SecOps today.
Fantastic.
No longer do we have our analysts having to write regular expressions that could take anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour. Gemini can do it within a matter of seconds. And our detection turnaround time has also greatly improved from 3 to 4 hours to 1 hour. My name is Hector Pena. I'm the Senior Information Security Director at Apex FinTech Solutions. We chose Google Cloud Operations as the best in breed as well as the best integration platform for the existing Google Cloud platform that we've already known and familiar with. We use that system to identify and respond to everyday threats that are impacting Apex and the financial institution. We need to account for multiple different avenues, from SaaS applications to on-prem infrastructure to cloud applications, where as an attacker, they only need to find one vulnerability, one entry space. We had a legacy platform that just didn't meet the standards of a modern day fintech organization. Google Cloud Security Operations is much more advanced than our legacy tech. We were able to generate faster queries, to create new detections, and to ingest logs from multiple different data sources that also weren't just GCP. One of the features that I find extremely helpful is the Unified Data Model Logging. The UDM model allows us to not spend time grooming logs as they're coming on ingest, but instead we can use them directly. Google Security Operations offers a data retention policy that allows our analysts to retroactively identify any threats that have occurred in the past. Google Security Operations is empowering us to be not only near real time, but to ensure that we have Apex covered for the last 12 months. When we moved to Google Security Operations, we were able to reduce the time to detect and time to investigate to about 15 to 30 minutes. No longer spending time in disparate tools, but performing the job functions of security operations analysts, and empowers them to work on more advanced workflows. We can develop playbooks and interact with the other security operations tool sets that aren't directly tied to Google Security Operations, but Google Security Operations is the brain of that. We use Gemini within Google Security Operations for natural query language, where we can ask it a simple question such as generating a regular expression that can be used for a curated detection or a security detection within the platform, where it'll provide upfront context for us where the analysts no longer have to investigate basic information. They can use the Gemini AI feature right within the case management feature to explain the case, give brief details about what they're looking at and what they're experiencing. Apex's relationship with Google Cloud has been excellent. They're consistently checking in on the progress for us, and they're ensuring that we partner with them and we trust them to make informed decisions about our roadmap internally, as well as to help drive new technology and bring Apex to the forefront of a security operations center. Apex FinTech Solution is building a new way to securely invest and generate wealth for everyone.
Okay, that's amazing to hear how they're doing that. Vijay, thank you so much for joining me today. Do you have any closing thoughts for our audience?
This is so exciting. I think what lies ahead of us, Tim, is even more exciting. As we bridge the promise and reality gap, the possibilities are limitless for us. And I think finally we have a technology that can truly give us, the defenders, an advantage. So I'm super excited about that.
Well, we've got a lot of work to do. We better get back to it. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you.